Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah. That is
do a
the
little
thing that we
interpretive
do.
dance during the intro.
If you...
Minnesotan accents.
Exactly. If you're a Patreon donor at $5 a month or more, you can see our head dancing.
You can see how much hair I've had installed recently.
Yeah, Amanda's drowning in hair, but it's very
so much
luscious.
hair now. I love it.
How long is it now?
Really
it's
long.
past your bubbies.
It's mermaid. And my natural hair is down to like here.
Whoa, that's as long as I've ever seen it anyway, naturally.
Yeah, it's the longest I've ever had.
Can you tell the difference when you're touching your hair if it's real or not real?
No.
Or if it's like
all
yours or not
real.
yours?
No, it's really well blended. It's also mostly not mine.
My real hair is down to here, but there are exactly 8 strands of it that are this long.
Exactly. But it's really long.
Mine is in a rat's nest at the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
I love your nest.
I like that. You're getting patted down by TSA. I'm sorry. I got a phone call. I can't talk right now.
We're professional.
Should we remind everyone to silence their cell phones during recording?
It's fine.
No pets in the room. I'm looking at you, Ray.
Ray is right there.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Our
When
whole
we
recording
tried to
checklist.
implement
out
a recording
the window.
checklist.
It's fine.
We stuck with it. Anyway, who are we?
Oh, fuck it. I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
And we have a very special fan pick this week brought to you by Tammy Cuthrell.
Cutthroat.
Cutthroat Tammy.
Give him Cutthroat.
I read it as Cuttrell, like Kim Cattrall, but maybe not. Cutthroat.
Yeah. It's probably Cuttrell. I like Cutthroat best.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tammy, that is your new name.
Yes.
You're going to have to fill out a lot of paperwork.
Go to the Social Security office.
And Tammy has selected the topic of organ crimes, which I thought was very straightforward, one direction, but I was wrong.
You were wrong.
Turns out there are directions you can go. I didn't go in a different direction.
I did.
Although my ADHD did tempt me to throw all of my notes out the window and just talk about the musical instrument.
Right. Yeah, stealing a giant organ from like a church or something.
That would be so good. But alas.
Another weird thing that happened is that Tammy sent specific case ideas, like assigned to Amanda and assigned to me, but we were not informed of these until after we had already started our notes. But magically, both of us had independently chosen what she had recommended for us.
Yeah, which, as I said to Kenyon, is either like so in sync, witchy, wow, or we're just that deeply predictable.
Yeah, exactly. It's a simulation.
Well,
why not both?
I don't know if you're really that predictable because Tammy is themselves a organ professional, a renal nurse, so like a kidney nurse.
Cool.
So not an orgontist.
Not an orgontist.
Okay.
I
No,
lost
an
my retainer
orgontist.
years ago.
Orgontist is an origami professional. Orgontist is an organ professional.
Orgontologist.
Orgontologist.
I
Got
have
it.
a friend who, before he went to med school, now he's like a
Was an orgontologist.
full-on doctor. I think. Who knows? They're like a million steps. They're always like,
He
I'm
was
in
a
residency.
kidney.
I'm in fellowship. I'm in my first year of law.
Yeah.
It's like, when are you just a?
I'm rushing.
When are you just a doctor?
I'm
But
rushing.
anyway, I think he's a doctor now. But before he went to med school, his job was like assisting with organ transplant transportation, basically.
assistant.
He was like
to the regional
carrying the
manager.
cooler bags to and fro helicopters.
Hell
I
yeah.
want to get one of those coolers just for a cookout.
Are they handcuffed to the wrist like a briefcase of
I
cash?
do not believe
Lock.
so, no, because that would waste valuable seconds. You know,
Depends on how slow you are at getting out of handcuffs. I have a handcuff key on my
we will
keys.
get to handcuffs though.
Hell
I mean,
yes.
we kind of will in my case. I say it one time.
Anyway, we're kind of rambling. It's fine. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for organ crimes?
Well, good old cutthroat Tammy also took care of us in the pairing department. And I did have one of these the other day in the hot tub, so I can confirm it's fucking amazing. She actually sent us High Point cider, and it is the transplant New England style
So good.
cider.
Perfect pairing.
so
It
good.
arrived on time.
Yeah, it arrived early.
I got mine
I
too.
love it.
Yeah.
Corey kept
It's
drinking
so-
it. I had to hide the last can.
It's so good. So this is made by High Point Cider, which is located in Victor, Idaho.
Ooh.
Oh, wait. Is ID Idaho or Indiana?
Idaho.
Idaho.
I don't know.
Idaho.
I don't know. I think it's
Indiana's
Idaho.
IN.
That's right. Okay. I went to elementary
know.
school. I don't know. So this is a traditional, semi-dry, modern New England style cider. The transplant is a smooth, slightly cloudy, and unfiltered homage to the New England tradition of small batch cider and to the skiers of Maine, New Hampshire, New York, and Vermont who venture west in search of new beginnings, new organs, new community, and champagne powder. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's
Really
a snow
nice
thing,
snow
champagne powder.
for snow sports.
I don't know. Sure.
Fresh pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. She clocks in at 6% ABV, so it's not going to kill you. It's very hydrating. I love it. It's not too sweet. It finishes really nice and dry. It has like just the right amount of tart without being too tart. There's actually a nice little chart on the black, a tart chart.
I like the size
so you
of the
can
can.
see. I love
Yeah.
a 16 ounce. Like, I love a tall boy. It's so good. And then I also loved this because it reminded me of us starting our own business.
I thought of the same thing.
How to start a cider company, a hard cider company. 1, quit your job. 2, convince your brother to quit his job. 3, craft the best damn cider in the Tetons.
Yeah.
That's it. 3 steps.
Love it.
It's a can, so we're going to call this a crack this week. And no tools necessary except your own sweet fingies. But if you're like me and you ripped off all of your,
Fake
dipping
fingies.
powder, and then you had to just paint your sad, weak fingernails because you've been too
Reliant on dip.
let's just call it depressed to make an appointment to go, then you can use your wine key
To crack it.
that says XOXO, the Wine and Crime Gals.
The
to
tiny
crack
little
this.
knife.
That's what I'm gonna do to just. Oh my god, I almost stabbed myself. Okay.
Also,
Don't try this at home.
We're donating some wine and merch to an auction for a charity. Details TBD. But they were like, "Oh, send merch, blah blah blah," and I was like, "I would love to. I'd be happy to." Literally nothing we sell is appropriate besides maybe the wine key.
That's amazing.
For this particular
I love
charity.
this anecdote, but I stuck my finger under this tab, and now it's just pinching my finger, and I can't feel my finger, so I
Go.
have to crack this out. Okay, here we go.
Oh,
Ow!
Oh.
Look what it did.
Ouch, honey.
I was pinched.
okay. Well,
Nice
nice
crack.
You get
I was
mine.
like, she's gonna be done really soon. Just let her talk. Just like, ow.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers, ladies. And thanks to
Yeah,
Tammy.
Cutthroat Tammy.
Thank you so much, Cutthroat Tammy.
All right.
Mm.
Lucy,
Fuck, that's good.
what is our background and maybe psych for organ crime?
Definitely psych.
Well, allow me to gently shake my
Bones.
snake ribs.
I do love that you actually sent me a little voice recording of you doing that.
You asked for it.
Yes, but I would like to request a new one as an actual voice memo in your voice memo app.
Oh, Okay, I'll do that.
So I can
I'll
download
do that
it
during
and
our first break.
play it at night. Yeah, thank you so much.
And just one more time, the snake bones were sent in by Lindsay from Den of Dermisted. Highly
Thank
recommend.
you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay. Oh, I am also wearing my tooth necklace, my teeth. These are just a smattering of my baby teeth.
They're so creepy.
My
They're so small and skinny.
Dad drilled holes in them, and my mom made them into a necklace for me, and I wore them to school one time, and I got so many looks from adults that I didn't like to wear it anymore.
Do you remember getting those looks?
Vividly. It actually instilled some trauma issues in me that I'm still unpacking.
Core memory.
This is a core memory. I also do have a special guest. I'm going to bring him out in a little bit, though. First, I'm going to tell you about biological organs, not to be confused with the instrument. And also, Corey thought we were doing Oregon crimes.
Love it.
As in the trail. I had to be pretty specific about what organs we're discussing. So Encyclopedia Britannica, my lover, defines an organ as, quote, a group of tissues in a living organism that have been adapted to perform a specific function. In higher animals, such as us,
humans,
such as women, organs are grouped into organ systems, e.g. the esophagus, stomach, and liver are organs of the digestive system. So we're going to be talking
organ crimes.
We're going to be talking about individual organs and also organ systems.
Okay.
So what is and isn't an organ in any given organism is not really solidly defined, but it's generally agreed that there are 79 organs in the human body, but another source I found firmly said 78.
Okay,
so
what are they not counting?
What's the is Y a vowel?
Maybe it depends on the gender. Or the sex, I mean.
It might depend on, well, so I have a list and I'm going to recite it for you just so we have an idea of what is an organ and what isn't, because some of them are actually kind of surprising.
Should we do it as a quiz?
No, I'm just going to go raw. I'm just going to go through. I said it out loud earlier and it doesn't really take that long. Although some of them I don't know how to pronounce. So
great.
They're in alphabetical order starting with anus.
Yes, luck.
Anus, arteries, appendix, adrenal glands, brain, bones, bronchi, bladder, bone marrow, bulbourethral glands.
Don't know that one.
Bone marrow is an organ?
Colon, cervix, clitoris, capillaries, cerebellum, diaphragm, ears, eyes, fallopian tubes, genitals, gallbladder, heart, hair follicle, hypothalamus, interstitium, kidneys, joints, liver, lungs, larynx, ligaments, lymph nodes, large intestine, lymphatic vessel, mouth, mesentery. Okay. Mammary glands.
I died of mesentery.
Yeah. You have died of mesentery.
That is Oregon crimes.
Oregon Trail. Mammary glands, nose, nails, nerves, nasal cavity, ovaries, esophagus, penis, pancreas, pharynx, placenta, prostate, pineal gland, pituitary gland, parathyroid glands, rectum, skin, spleen, scrotum, stomach, spinal cord, small intestine, salivary gland, skeletal muscles, seminal vesicles, subcutaneous tissue, teeth, tonsils, testes, tendons, tongue, thyroid, trachea, thymus gland, ureters. Also don't know what that is.
Ureter.
Yeah. Ureter.
Ureter.
Urethra, uterus, vulva, veins, vagina, vas deferens, and vestigial organ.
There are so many in there that I never would have assumed were organs. Like, how are glands organs?
And
They're glands.
fingernails.
We'll get to
I get how fingernails could be organs since, like, the skin is an organ, which I guess I kind of get why hair follicles are an organ. But I don't know. It's confusing.
There were fully 10 in there that I had never heard of in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clitoris? Where's that?
So an organ is something that is made up of different types of tissue that create a thing, it being the organ, and then that organ participates in a bigger, broader spectrum system.
Okay.
And I'll get to it. I was actually really interested in this topic, and that's kind of why I didn't cover trafficking, because I thought organs themselves and like how we define them and how they evolve was really pretty fascinating. So that's what I stuck with.
Mortician.
Absolutely.
You really could have.
I really
could have just stomached the science. See what I did there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mr. Kokesh was really good. I liked Mr.
You could have
Kokesh, but he
only
was
had Mr.
chemistry.
Kokesh your whole life.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was chemistry. My biology, Miss Walker, that was spelled Whacker. She was scary.
I had her too.
She was a little scary. I think she was fluent in German, and that just like made her more intimidating.
I skipped almost every single one of those classes, and then Jessica helped me like basically pass.
Jessica sat right. I sat between Jessica and Courtney in biology, and that is the only reason I passed.
Jessica's also the only reason I passed. She was not in my class, but she helped me with like all of my homework.
Well, I was distracted because Peter Chase was sitting behind me the whole time.
Oh,
so
yeah, that would
is
be distracting.
The only reason I passed is for those two.
Oh, cute.
Okay, so in more advanced animals, such as humans, there are usually 10 organ systems. So we have the integumentary system.
Gubernatorial.
Exactly.
I had never heard of this.
Intergovernmental systems.
Intergovernmental. So this system encloses internal body structures. There are lots of sensory receptors. So your hair, your skin, your nails. That's part of
sack.
the integumentary system.
Your sack.
Your skin sac. Yeah.
Makes your sack.
Then we have the skeletal system. So that's bones, cartilage, and joints. The muscular system, which are muscles and tendons. The nervous system, which detects and processes sensory info, and that includes technically the brain, the spinal cord, and peripheral nerves, which I took to mean just like all the nerves like around on your
nerve
skin.
endings. Okay.
Then we have the endocrine system, which secretes hormones. It regulates processes, and that includes your pituitary glands, your thyroid gland, your pancreas, adrenal glands, and testes and ovaries. Then we get to your digestive system, which is your stomach, liver, gallbladder, large intestine, small intestine. I'm pretty sure it includes like pooping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Because your digestive system is sometimes different from like your urinary system.
Oh, yeah. That's doing different things.
Yeah,
Different
but I
holes.
would have thought they were the kind of the same system, but I don't think they are. Okay, so
Well, is urine, is it at the end of the process? Like first they gotta get all the like hard matter taken care of, and then all the leftover stuff is urine? So it comes later?
Or poop. Well, the urine is what happens with the fluid, so the water in your body, and how your body regulates its water levels is different from how it excretes feces, for example. So like your urinary system, let's just assume that it's all water. Then your cells need water to survive. So it's a different process. So I think it's my impression that it's a different system.
Someone out there is screaming right now. We have no idea.
Always.
Well, I think
Is urine different from poop?
Not always. I can tell you.
Like,
I think
don't we just have a cloaca where just everything comes out?
it's where you lay your
and
eggs
goes
too.
in? Yeah.
I think because, like I said, there's not like a hard and fast definition of what makes an organ when we're talking about all the different like animals and plants that have organ systems. That there is some room for gray area in like, this is part of this system, this is part of this system, because they do all work together. So where you draw those lines
overlap.
kind of varies. Yeah.
Okay.
Then you have your respiratory system, which is your nasal passage, your trachea, and your lungs. Your circulatory system, and I think this is basically the same as your cardiovascular system. So that would be your heart, your blood vessels, all that stuff. Your excretory, I think, aka urinary system. And this controls, like I said, the water level in your body. It removes waste from your blood, which again is different from poop waste.
Yeah.
So that includes your kidneys, your urinary bladder, your pee stuff. And then your reproductive system, which is your mammary glands, ovaries, uterus, epididymis, and testes.
The fuck's an epididymis?
Penis.
Oh.
I think it's technically the tube that's in the penis. That's not the urethra. It's like the semen tube.
Okay.
What's your vast deference?
There's a vast difference between the epididymis and the penis. Okay.
But I don't know what that vast deference is.
Oh, I spelled it with a Z by accident. That's not right.
Ooh, bold.
It's the thick-walled tube in the male reproductive system that transports sperm cells from the epididymis, where the sperm are stored prior to ejaculation. So I was wrong.
Epididymis is like your ball sack. It's like in your balls.
So your
Well,
epididymis. Then what are your
from
testes?
your balls to where the sperm comes out.
Then what are the testes? Why are the testes and the epididymis different?
Maybe the testes are about like
Producing
the
it.
sac, and the epididymis is about like
One
the
is
functional
producing the sperm and
thing
one is
in the sac.
transporting the sperm.
Kenyon's right. The epididymis is a long tube located near each testicle. The epididymis is the tube which moves the sperm from the testicles
it is the
through
tube.
the vas deferens into the Kleenex.
Well,
Into
I'm
the
getting a
sock.
new pet, and I'm naming it Epididymis because that's a really good name for a male
Name
cat.
your partner's
Sounds like an
penis
Incubus
Diddy
album.
for epididymis.
Diddy. Is that what P. Diddy stands for?
P-didymis.
Epididymis.
Epididymis.
Use my full name.
I'm going with it.
Epididymis.
Sir P-didymis. Epididymis.
So there's another system. I don't think this has to do with organs, but I thought about it, so I put it in here. The lymphatic system. And so that's what returns fluid to the blood and protects against pathogens. And so that includes your thymus, your lymph nodes, your spleen, and your lymphatic vessels.
Feels very
So that
important.
led me to wonder what the fuck a lymph is. What is lymph? And it is a colorless fluid containing white blood cells which bathes the tissues and drains through the lymphatic system into the bloodstream. So it's like the body's water, but not actually water.
That's why when you're sick, your lymph nodes get swollen because they're producing white blood cells to try to fight your infection.
Ha! Yes, ma'am.
And
You
sending
got
it
it.
in
You
that,
got it.
in that clear, viscous water jello that floats through our bodies all fucking day.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hot. I
Keeps
want to
us
do a
all
shot
flushed
of
out.
lymph fluid.
I'm
and just
sure
see
that
how it
exists
tastes.
at Moon Juice.
Probably. Get me on the phone.
I start
Want them
every
to know it was
morning
me.
with my lymph juice.
Lymph
One
juice.
shot of lymph juice.
My lymphanade.
When life hands you lymph.
Squeezed lymphanade.
Lymphs. Gross.
Hate it.
Ew.
Well,
Okay. So these symptoms appear gradually in the lower animals. I'm talking like evolution-wise. In the lower animals, so like worms and snails and shit, and attain their full complexity and functional specialization in the higher animals. In plants, the primary organs are the stem, the root, and the leaf, all of which help to nourish the plant, and the reproductive organs, for example, the flowers, seed, and spores. As with animals, these organs are responsible for the basic life-sustaining function of the organism. So an organism can be anything living, and so all organisms contain some form of organ. So
speaking of like organs and plants, have we talked about no, this is a real thing. Have we talked about on the show how environmental misogyny fucks with our allergies so badly?
Yes.
About how we like cities will opt to only plant quote unquote male trees because they don't produce as much mess. Like they don't
produce fruit, so then they don't have to clear
But then
like
we have-
rotting apples from the streets.
Right. But then we have all of this pollen that's basically just tree and plant sperm with no female plants to absorb the pollen. And so people's allergies get worse every year.
that
because of
is
that.
fucking fascinating. I've never heard of that.
And
Isn't
it
that
might
nuts?
be responsible
It's a very
for
real
rise
thing.
in autoimmune disorders because people's bodies
It's
are
linked
like,
to a lot
what
of
is
shit.
This onslaught of allergies.
Yeah, we can't like process it out. It like fucks with our immune system.
Ties into the white male Republicans who are
Honestly.
staunchly pro-birth. Oh my God,
But
misogyny
don't know how to
is
manage
everywhere.
the extra sperm.
fucking plant patriarchy.
Also heard
Yup.
recently that a lot of studies that use like mice to test whatever, they will code castrated male mice as female mice for the purpose of
Even
the
though they're
study
fucking-
because female mice hormones, much like female human hormones, will throw off the results. So even studies that, like, first of all, very few things are tested on, binary women.
Mice anymore. Or, well, yeah.
Oh, human women.
Well, or just, like anything affecting women is just like not studied thoroughly enough in science.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like at the very basic level, we just are ignoring all
Females.
of the fucking hormonal differences of being born in that body.
Yeah.
And just not studying them at all.
It's too messy. It's too complicated. It'll fuck up the
my
results.
God.
Yeah.
So we're not freaks and anomalies. We're just 51% of the population. Give or
underserved.
take.
Under-researched and...
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. Everything's great.
Undervalued
Organs.
was the word you were looking for, by the way.
Yeah. And hormones, not a small thing.
No, they're huge.
They really, really, really affect everything. Day-to-day life.
Yep. Oh my God,
Anyway.
that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If by interesting you mean terrible, then yeah.
Well, I think a lot of terrible things are interesting.
That's true. Same.
Anyway,
Fair.
back to organs.
Time for our special guest. Are you ready?
Oh.
What? Yes.
I have.
Oh my God. Is this Corey's gallbladder? Or whatever he had removed?
I have Corey's gallbladder. It's been in my freezer.
Take it out. Take it out.
Well,
Take it out.
I will. There's a lot of ice crystals on it because it's just been in my freezer.
You got it. You freezer burned it?
I didn't mean to. I've just been waiting for like the right
won't be able
spell
to
to
eat it
cast.
now.
I just want to cast a spell.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Ziploc that I put it in after we dissected it.
Oh my God, it is not small.
No, it's about the size of the palm of my hand. It fits in a bread box, but you can see the incision. It looks like a little bird beak opening.
I can smell it through this Skype call.
I can't.
Well, I'm smelling
It smells like a
something.
frozen Ziploc. You know what does smell a little bit faintly are his gallstones, which I have right here. So an idiot friend of mine. It looks like a Reese's egg.
It looks like a bird's egg.
Do
It looks like
not
something you could hide on
mistake
Easter.
that for a Reese's egg.
Well-
Also, do not ruin Reese's eggs for me like that.
Nothing can ruin Reese's eggs for me. But it looks even more like it because there's the inside. It's orange.
It really looks like a chocolate candy.
It looks
oh
like
my
a
God.
frozen Reese's egg. And I only say frozen because there's little like crystal, it's like a crystalline surface.
Has Corey had to like change his diet since he had his gallbladder removed? Because
He
aren't
did
you
for a while. If he eats a super rich meal, then he'll have to shit like immediately. And then
Same.
obviously for a while post surgery, he had to change a lot of things. But
Yeah.
if he has like, a duck confit dinner or something, it's gonna fuck with him a little bit. But in general, he feels so much better.
Okay.
Because previously it was just he'd eat a really rich meal, and instead of just, pooping pretty much right away, he'd be up all night with crazy stomach cramps, vomiting, just writhing on the floor in pain because the gallbladder wasn't doing its job.
Which is not good for somebody who owns a delicious and decadent burger restaurant.
True.
Yeah.
So we've taken to calling these his burger diamonds because they're in essence they're burger
You
diamonds.
need to make him a necklace. My
I was
burger diamonds.
I'm gonna make jewelry out of this, but
Make him like Super Bowl rings.
one of our friends, he had two, and one of our friends dropped the big one, which is why I have it in 4 separate pieces right here. I might epoxy it back together, but then you can't see the inside, which I think is just as interesting.
It's nice to have one specimen where you can see the slices.
Yeah. And no, I don't have pierced ears, so I can't make them into earrings, but he has one pierced ear. I could make him a single earring.
Look at Amanda. All right, let's move on. We got a
You
lot of
got
ground to
special
cover.
guest.
so close to your mouth when you sniffed it.
It doesn't smell anymore. I was hoping it did. Anyway, follow me on Instagram if you want to see actual pictures of us dissecting
Follow me
this.
for more recipes.
Oh my God.
Okay, there's our special guest. I'm going to have to put it back in the freezer as soon as we go on an ad break, though, because I don't want this thing to thaw out. Okay, that was my special guest. Moving on.
Love it. Well done.
So organs and organ systems are two levels of complexity that form the human organism. So think of this like a pyramid. So first you have the chemical level where, for example, hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms bond to form molecules with three-dimensional structures. Mm-hmm. So like that maybe not speaks for itself.
Which,
there you go.
how did we ever figure that out?
I don't know. I don't know how we got here. Imagine how much we're going to know in another 500 years. I fucking can't.
I'm still the girl in our middle or high school who asked who invented strawberries. You do not want us answering your medical question.
I mean,
do you guys remember
technically
that?
our modern strawberries were invented by somebody.
Well, sure, but that's not what she meant.
Not what she was going for.
Who invented strawberries? Whose gene therapy?
Who's gene therapy? That's my favorite.
It was not the same person.
No, that was Blortney.
It was
So the father of gene therapy. And she goes, who's gene therapy? Oh, wow. Okay. So that's the first one when those chemicals interact and become something else. Then we have the cellular level where a variety of molecules combine to form the fluid and organelles of a body cell. For example, a smooth muscle cell.
Organelles. What?
Organelles. What a beautiful word.
Is it?
Effluvia, organelle. So many good baby names. Mm-hmm. Then we have the tissue.
This is my daughter, Organelle. And my son, Effluvia.
I think it's gorgeous.
My adult son, Effluvia. Don't speak to me or my Effluvia ever again.
Epididymis.
Me,
He's the spicy twin.
Love that name. Ep268.
Ep268.
I fucking can't.
If you ever need a nom de plume.
Yeah.
If you won't get published because you're a woman, just go by Ep268.
Yeah, if we go back to the 19th century and we all need male nom de plume. Epididymis.
I love it.
Then we have the tissue level, where a community of similar cells from a body tissue form a body tissue, for example, smooth muscle tissue. So a bunch of these smooth muscle cells will come together and form an entire tissue. And then after the tissue is formed, then we have the organ level, where two or more different tissues combine to form an organ. So, for example, when our smooth muscle tissue combines with skeletal muscle to form the bladder. Then we have the organ system level, where two or more organs work closely together to perform the functions of a body system, for example, the urinary tract system. And then lastly, the organismal level, the dismal organismal level, where many organ systems work harmoniously together to perform the functions of an independent organism, such as you or I.
In theory.
In theory, yeah. Well, we also talked about teratomas. This is actually a pretty good episode to do in the wake of the sports ball episode, because as we discussed, a lot of these different tissues can think that they're combining to form some sort of functional system, but really it's just a ball of nightmare hair and teeth and whatever.
Yep.
So in the study of anatomy, viscera refers to the internal organs of the abdominal, thoracic, and pelvic cavities. The abdominal organs may be classed as solid organs or hollow organs. The solid organs are the liver, pancreas, spleen, kidneys, and adrenal glands, whereas the hollow organs are the stomach, intestines, gallbladder, bladder, and rectum. So hollow organs, something passes through them.
Got it.
At a resting state, they're empty.
Okay.
Got it.
But the solid ones they're a mass all the time. Splanchnology is the study of the viscera.
That's
like BRB, gonna go be a splanchnologist.
My name is Splanch Dubois.
Splanchnology.
It might be
I really hate it.
splanchnology, but I'm just going with splanchnology.
Splanch.
It just feels good to say. Splanchnologist. So the opposite of viscera, which comes from the word visceral, so like inside, deep, would be parietal, meaning of or relating to the wall of a body part, organ, or cavity. So these two terms are often used to describe a membrane or a piece of connective tissue referring to opposite sides. So you have your viscera, your internal shit, and then you have your parietal shit, which is like stuff you can see, stuff on the outside of your body.
Yeah, if you can see your viscera, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I was gonna say I have really thin skin, so you can see my blood vessels in my upper boob right here. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
I went to Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago with some people that I didn't know very well, and that sounds weird the way I just said it, but so it's like I was in a bathing suit, and they were like, "Oh my God, I can see like your blood pumping through your skin." Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, I'm really pale.
I need a tan.
Oh my God. I can see your blood pumping through your skin.
Seriously.
Wow.
I kind of love it, though.
Oh, look at that one.
You really can. I can see it from here.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm blue-blooded.
You also bruise very easily.
Oh, honey. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's way up here. I closed my shower door on my arm like a week ago, and that's still there.
Poor thing.
It's fantastic. I'm always bruised. Oh, fun anecdote. When Kenyon and I were in sailing, we were in like early high school or something, and we decided to have like a girls' night out one Friday after sailing. And for whatever reason, that week I just been particularly jacked up in a sailboat.
Oh, God.
There's
so
a lot that you're gonna get bruised just normally sailing in a small boat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But my shins in particular. And before I had like this cute little short skirt and this cute little tank top. And then before we left Kenyon's house to go bowling, she was like, you look like you need help. You've got a lot of bruises.
Like you need help.
She had an innumerable amount of bruises up and down her legs. And her legs were like on display because they're one of your best features. And you had this mini skirt on.
The best feature.
And
you do have wonderful
the
legs.
bruises, some of them were like big. They were just like welts.
And some of them were like yellow, like half healed. You could tell they like happened over time.
Yes.
The yellowing.
So
an old bruise is not cute.
It's not cute. And so we put some concealer on my legs to make it look not so obvious. But then we went cosmic bowling.
Oh, no.
And you're not buying good concealer when you're 14 years old. So like it lit up under the black lights at cosmic bowling.
No.
I just looked spotted. I looked like a leopard.
Oh my God.
The bruises like inverted. So they were the things that were glowing on my legs.
I'm so sorry. That sucks.
You were there.
I probably was, but I don't remember this shit.
It was really wild.
Yeah, it was like a concealer stick from the drugstore.
Stick.
It was the cover girl stick.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Chubby stick.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay. So here's another thing that I found particularly fascinating. In terms of evolution, we can first detect the organ level of organization in flatworms.
Oh, the fucking flatworms.
Love a good flatworm.
They freak me out.
They're really nasty. They're creepy. They just they squirm. Ugh.
Never thought about them.
Well, you're going to start now.
They look like how I imagine tapeworms swim through your intestines.
Oh, okay. We're good.
So here's a quote from Wikipedia. More complex animals are composed of different organs which have evolved over time. For example, the liver evolved in the stem vertebrates around 540 to 500 million years ago, while the gut and the brain are even more ancient, arising in insects, mollusks, and worms about 700 to 650 million years ago.
Okay.
So when scientists are studying how different organs have evolved over time, ideally, they want to look at a specific organ that has evolved independently multiple times, because that's sort of like giving them an indication that that's the thing that works, you know?
Okay.
The placenta is a really good example of this. It has evolved more than 100 times independently in invertebrates It's also evolved relatively recently and across a variety of taxa. So as in like the taxonomic hierarchy. So like different species, different genus, kingdoms, etc. across lots of different types of animals. Is this making sense to you?
I'm totally following. It's fine.
Sure, kind of.
I saw Amanda's
I'm
face.
quiet because I totally get it.
Okay.
That's all.
So, quote, studies on the evolution of the placenta have identified a variety of genetic and physiological processes that contribute to the origin and evolution of organs. These include the repurposing of existing animal tissues. So, like, obviously this is super not how it works, but like, say your stomach tissue at some point was like, hey, I could also function as, this other organ over here. We'll jump over and give this a try. And then that works.
Sure.
That's not how it works, you're saying?
It's not, if millions of years of evolution was summed up into just that one thing.
Does a placenta exist before the organism is pregnant, or is it?
I don't think so.
It develops from the pregnancy.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're studying placentas as like this really perfect way of looking at the evolution of organs, because it doesn't exist until it needs to. So then at that point, your body starts producing these new cells to form a brand new organ. And then after you give birth, you just poop it out and it's gone. You don't need it anymore.
Right. Poop it out from the front.
Front poop. Good old front dump.
Take a front dump. Get rid of your placenta.
And then you pulverize it and turn it into a pill.
I'm sorry. I would
just eat it
1,000% be willing to do that.
I know.
Mode.
I know you would.
It's just vitamins.
But you wouldn't eat it. You'd just keep it.
You'd keep part of it.
I think I'd consume part of it and probably do some sort of spell on part of it. And keep another part in my freezer for God knows how long.
Fair.
Sounds about right.
Keep, donate, throw away.
Exactly. This brings me joy. I'm going to keep it in my freezer.
Yeah.
Okay, the repurposing of existing animal tissues, the acquisition of new functional properties by these tissues. So if your stomach wall were to say, hey, I can do this, I don't need to move anywhere, I'm just going to do it where I'm at. And the novel interactions of distinct tissue types. So your stomach meets your bladder and they're like, hey, we can work together here. I've got a business idea. Why don't we make a placenta?
Let's make a podcast.
Let's make a podcast.
Quit your job. Let's make cider in the Grand Tetons.
Let's do it.
Fuck yeah. Your bladder and your stomach just quit their day jobs. Go make cider. So I would say that it's safe to say the placenta is the current hero of organ evolution and a very exciting area to study.
Cool.
When it comes to alchemy and mysticism, I know we like that.
We love that.
The 7 vital organs are often connected to the 7 quote-unquote classical planets, which are not all actually planets, but it's what people used to think were the planets. And this is how that shaped up. So your sun is related to your heart. The moon is related to your brain. Mercury to your lungs. Venus to your kidneys. Mars to your gallbladder. Jupiter to your liver, and Saturn to your spleen.
Cool.
Okay, what does a spleen do?
It filters something. Hold on. I think spleen.
It's fine.
Function.
I won't remember. I'll have to Google it again tomorrow.
It fights the invading germs in the blood. So the spleen is connected to your lymphatic system because of the white blood cells.
Okay.
God, I am
The
so
spleen
smart all
bone's
of a sudden.
connected to the lymph bone.
Lymph
nodes.
Lymph node.
Okay, I have some fun organ facts for you because I'm always just shocked when I hear some of these. And it's like, oh my God, my lungs are huge. So the adult bladder can hold around 400 milliliters, which is about 13.5 fluid ounces. Unless you're my sister, then it holds like 2 fluid ounces.
That is also me.
Yeah. Well, you drink
Mine
a
can
lot of
hold a
coffee. Madeline just has her bladder's the size of one of these gallstones. Your liver can regenerate its own tissue. I didn't know that. Apparently you can like donate like part of your
you
liver.
can give partial liver transplant.
Because you can't survive without your own liver. You can't donate your whole liver.
No, but you could give a
Not if you want to survive.
piece of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for it to then regenerate and grow in a match.
I think that's so cool.
It's super fucking cool. I wish the rest of our bodies could function like that.
Well,
I'd love for
A pancreas,
pancreas that could regenerate.
Your poor Panky.
Well, diabetes is like type 1 diabetes is weird because it's technically like not your pancreas. Like it's your immune system that attacks the cells in your pancreas that make like the beta cells that produce insulin.
It's
So
the
it's
whole
like-
system. It's not just
your
one
body
thing.
is like making it so that your pancreas doesn't work because the cells it's making get killed.
So would your pancreas possibly work in somebody else's body?
At this point, prob's not. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
She's shabby.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the answer to that question.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, your small intestine is about 23 feet long.
That's too long. Okay.
Too long. Your left lung has 2 lobes in it, while your right lung has 3.
I got that question wrong on that quiz the other day.
Sure did. I thought it was just 2.
to make room for your heart. So your right lung is bigger.
Oh.
In total, adult lungs, like I just said, have a surface area of about 70 square meters.
No.
If you unfold all the lobes and all the crazy shit in your lungs, it's like the size of my backyard.
No.
What?
Yeah. And your lungs
So
together.
it's like a fan, like it's folded on itself with all these lobes or
I
not
definitely
lobes, but,
thought,
like,
literally until yesterday and now today, that the lungs were just like 2
airbags.
air bags. Yeah, like bladders for air
No, honey.
in your chest.
They
No,
do
honey.
contain about 1,500 miles of airways.
Nope.
So it's tissue with a bunch of tubes for all the air to the oxygen to go into, and then the surface of your lungs take the nutrients out of the air and then put it into your blood.
Weird. Okay. Nutrients out of the air?
Right?
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Okay.
Yeah. The adult brain weighs about 3 pounds, so it's about, a couple percentages of your total body weight, but it uses about 20% of your whole body's energy. So
Okay.
get enough sleep because your brain needs it. Ooh, I like this one. If you smoothed out all the wrinkles in your brain, it would be about the size of an empty pillowcase.
See, that seems small to me compared to the lungs.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess.
I don't
know.
get it.
I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
It's all freaking me out.
Yeah.
I ordered these from my least favorite to my most favorite facts, so they get
Okay.
better.
Okay.
Your skin weighs about 8.5 pounds, and if you spread it out, I don't know why they worded it this way, but I kept it because it was so disturbing. If you spread out all your skin, it would be about 20 square feet, which is about the size of a child's bed sheet.
That is the most Lucy fact of all time. If you cut off all your skin and spread it out and quilted it, it would be perfect for a child's bedsheet.
It's such a grotesque way
so
to think
grotesque.
about it, but I love
I will
it.
never forget that fact.
No. You could swaddle your child in your skin.
Yeah.
You good.
Welcome.
A large child.
My God.
Okay, if all the blood vessels in the human body were laid end to end, they would circle the earth 4 times. Also, if you've ever seen Body Worlds,
I have,
Yeah.
but it's still hard to imagine
How all
the
that can
size
fit.
and
Yeah.
the length. Because, the way you're experiencing it is either in small samples,
like when Bill hawked up his lung.
yeah,
That's
or like
weird.
a slice of all of these systems still in a human body.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so bizarre.
Body Worlds is so cool. I love that it's in
God,
it.
if you have the opportunity, go see it.
Yeah.
Humans shed about 600,000 particles of skin every hour. So when they say
Get
most
you a good vacuum.
when they say most dust is human skin, it sure the fuck
That's
is.
why. Yeah, that's nuts. And I don't like it. Okay, moving on.
On average, the human body On average, the human body
Well, next.
contains enough iron to make a 1-inch long nail, like a hammer nail.
Weird.
That's
Yeah.
weird. Okay.
Not mine though, because I have a
You're
consistent
anemic.
iron deficiency.
Yeah.
Do you want to see my veins again?
Relentless iron.
Let's go back to my bruising.
Yeah.
The cornea is the only part of the body with no blood supply. So your cornea gets its oxygen directly from the air.
Weird.
We will get to the corneas.
Yes.
Oh, cornea is huge in Minnesota.
And China. The average person produces enough saliva in their lifetime to fill 2 swimming pools.
No.
I think they meant Olympic-sized swimming pools, too.
Nope.
You can carry, on average, about 4 pounds of bacteria around inside your body.
Pounds?
Pounds.
What?
If you removed all the bacteria from your body, it would be about 4 pounds. That is a
Why are
quick
you
way to
doing
lose
this?
weight.
They're how? I don't want to
it's
know.
the good bacteria. You got your gut flora, all that stuff. It's all bacteria.
Yeah, but it's all microscopic.
Yeah, it adds up. Dividends,
like this
baby.
anymore. I was having fun.
Okay, my last fun fact, it was my favorite.
These facts aren't fun.
The human body contains enough fat to make 7 bars of soap.
Stop.
Or more.
Mm-hmm. I bet I could put out 8.
Let's replace the stupid ass BMI scale with the
With
soap
the soap
scale.
production
Bars of soap.
scale.
I love this. I
Love
love
that.
this.
Love that idea.
Your doctor's like, we need to talk. You are producing way too much soap.
You're up
Way
to
too
9.5
much
bars.
Fine
Great.
by me.
You're cleaner.
Yeah, but have you
I'm
seen my ass and
efficient.
tits?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
In your bra.
in your bra. Okay, I'm gonna close this out with a message from Tammy because our amazing fan picker, Tammy, is a renal nurse, a kidney nurse, like I said at the top. She sent me and all of us a whole bunch of background information for our segment that I 100% forgot about until I was already finished with my notes. So Tammy, I am so sorry. I did read everything you sent over. Very well researched, very interesting. But I'm going to close out my segment with an important message. There are over 100,000 people waiting for a renal transplant, a kidney transplant, with over
We'll get to it.
with over 4,000 of those patients dying while waiting for a kidney every single year. So please, 1, sign your driver's license to be an organ donor, but that is not enough. You have to tell your family your wishes because they are the ones who will ultimately make that decision.
Oh, it's not enough to just elect
If your
on
family
usually
chooses
not.
to intervene,
that can supersede.
they can do so. But many families don't, but some families do.
Yeah. And so just a reminder, 1 donor can save 8 people with their organs and help 50 people with their tissues. And also, what are you going to do with it? You're fucking
yeah.
dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be stingy.
After death organ donation, so important, although it has to be done ethically, and we will get to it.
Oh, yes, we will.
And I also know that some religions, it's not great in some religions, but
Get over it.
that's your own thing. It's in general, I feel like there is no real reason
Not to.
not to be
You're
an
not going
organ
to use
donor.
them. You can't take it with you, baby.
Take it with ya. So anyway, that's my segment.
Well done.
Great job.
Learned a
Now,
lot. Will never be the
go-
same.
Put your gallbladder back in the freezer,
I
please.
do. Yeah, I gotta.
I gotta go take care of my urinary system, and then we will get to my case.
Oh, God.
We'll be right back. So I started using Curology like 3 years ago, and I will never forget the very first winter that I was using it, and my skin was completely different than it had been in the past. Winter is super harsh on my skin. I have pretty sensitive skin. I get so dry. I get like dry patches.
Yeah, same.
And then the over-the-counter stuff you just get at Walgreens, whatever, sometimes it just clogs your pores so badly that it's just negating any hydration that it's giving you. It's just not balanced enough. So Curology super changed the game, especially in terms of my winter face.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's made especially for you, it's so much better than anything you can just buy over the counter at a regular drugstore.
It seriously is. Curology is game-changing custom skincare made for you by a dermatology provider. They'll create a custom prescription cream for your specific goals, whether that's tackling acne, clogged pores, skin texture, dark spots, fine lines, or something else. Like for me, it's my hormonal acne around my period. And you just start by taking a short online quiz and uploading photos. And if it's a good fit, they'll ship your formula right to your door. It even has your name on the bottle. Like, this is foolproof. You can't mess it up. Like, I have a different, face cream for daytime. I have one for evening. And it literally says, like, my name on it. Use in the morning after cleansing. Like, I can't mess it up. It tells you what to do. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. I had tried so many different types of skincare, some really expensive stuff, and I ended up like destroying my face and like stripping my skin barrier, and Curology like soothed and fixed me.
Regenerated you.
It's the best. So get started with Curology just like we did with a free 30-day trial at Curology.com/gals, Gals. Just pay $5 for shipping and handling. That's CUROLOGY.com/gals to start your free 30-day trial. Cancel anytime. Prescription subject to consultation. And treat your skin.
Treat it.
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that is why it's America's #1 meal kit.
Y'all know I don't like to cook and that I'm not very good at it. And HelloFresh is basically the only way that I do it. And it doesn't like loop you into the same things over and over again, because HelloFresh's chefs really know how to diversify your dinner menu with seasonal spring recipes like sweet heat shrimp tempura bowls.
Hi.
Oh, yum.
Garden spinach ricotta ravioli.
Yes.
One pot creamy lemon dill chicken soup.
Oh my God.
For
All of
like
it.
the bridge between our agonizingly cold spring and an actual spring.
Dill
That soup
is a beautiful bridge.
Yeah. It's incredible. And HelloFresh, like Kenyon said, it's affordable. It's 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant and is even cheaper than grocery shopping. So that's money back in your pocket, and it like reduces waste because you're not getting 1,000 leaves of cilantro for that one little bit that you need. They just take care of it for you. And I recently made the white cheddar Wonder Burgers for me and Bill.
Hi.
Yeah.
You make like the thick cut French fries, and they put together a seasoning. You like whip up a dipping sauce. It's incredible. The French fries, they put together like the Old Bay seasoning. The burger has caramelized onion, and then you have the ingredients for the special sauce, and they just walk you through how to make it. It is so good.
It's so nice to
like you're at a restaurant.
get out of a recipe rut too.
Yep. 1,000%. So for all these reasons and more, HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So go to HelloFresh.com/gals16, GALS16, and use code GALS16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. One more time, go to HelloFresh.com/gals16 and use code GALS16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. And treat your meals.
Treat 'em.
Are we ready for my case?
Yes, I'm so excited.
Honestly, like,
Shit's wild.
Shit is wild. And
Ugh, excuse me. My cider is coming back up my organ pipe.
Your trachea, part of your respiratory system.
If you stretch it out, it can reach France.
No, it's not that long.
Okay.
oh my God. Yeah, I could have gone in so many different directions from this, and there's a lot more that could be said, but like this is what we have time for. So, China has one of the largest organ transplant programs in the world. which you may think,
how great.
amazing.
Good for them.
How generous.
Exact numbers are hard to obtain, but to give a sense of the volume of operations performed in the country, one Chinese newspaper estimated that approximately 20,000 organ transplants were performed in the country in the year 2006 alone. So you would think that, like, since 2006, more and more would be happening every year.
So
And actually,
sorry,
Yeah.
quick question, because I know where this is going. Are the transplants in the country from the donor to the recipient within China, or is it just the removal?
my next sentence.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And actually, roughly 28% of organ recipients in China today are foreigners, Waiworen, who travel to the country because of the relative ease of obtaining a transplant there compared to in their home country. So there's a lot of organ transplant tourism, much like there is plastic surgery tourism in other countries and whatever.
Butt lift tourism.
However, due to cultural norms and taboos, including a traditional belief that a body should be buried intact, voluntary organ donation amongst the Chinese population is extremely low.
Okay.
Almost unheard of. So
Voluntary.
Voluntary.
Being the key word.
So, for example, between the years 2003 and 2009, only 130 people, 130 out of a population of approximately 1.3 billion
Yeah.
volunteered to be organ donors, like after their death, or if you know, like in the case of kidneys, like if you're able to donate while living. 130 total.
That's wild.
Brave souls.
Yeah. So China did not even have a national voluntary organ registry in place until 2013. But again, back in 2006, they were doing 20,000 organ transplants a year.
Oh, where are they getting all these, I wonder? I wonder if that's where this is going to go.
I wonder. So this massive discrepancy in numbers between transplant operations performed and organs voluntarily donated has raised persistent and troubling questions about where exactly all these transplantable human organs are coming from.
I watched a Vice video about this yesterday.
It's
Weird.
wild. Feel
really
free to
weird.
chime in with facts that I missed because it's impossible to cover everything. So one answer is that for decades, China was harvesting organs from executed prisoners and using them for transplants.
Ooh.
So
Not
bas-
great.
Like people who were on death row, executed, and then they would harvest their organs like immediately upon their death. In 2009, China revealed that 65% of its organ donations came from executed prisoners. And China likely has the highest rate of criminal executions in the world, although it's like really hard to get accurate national statistics. But like
Because a lot of it's crimes against humanity, etc.
they have the death penalty. The population is extremely pro-death penalty. Like north of 88% of people when polled are pro-death penalty. And they have a lot of different crimes, including nonviolent crimes, like
That
drug
qualify you.
smuggling, that qualify you for the death
Execution,
penalty.
yeah.
And also there's like not the same appeals system. Like if you're sentenced to the death penalty, you're probably going to fucking be killed.
There's also a lot of like religious minorities that they'll just automatically send you to some sort of camp and they kind of like disappear you.
We will get to it. Let's
Amazing.
not jump ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
There is a movie on Netflix that I watched the other day. It's called
Fresh.
The Laundromat.
Ooh.
And it's like it was like a 2019 movie, but it's basically about money laundering and how shady money exchanges happen around the world. And there was a full segment on Chinese prisoners being executed specifically to harvest their organs. And one of the guys, I mean, it was sort of like it was a scripted, quote unquote, fictional movie, but it had elements of like investigative journalism to it. So I don't know which parts were like verbatim actual facts, but one of the characters was saying that he was a surgeon in China And he was brought to one of these camps where they executed people. And he said most of them were dead when we got to them.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe weren't. And they had to
we will get to it.
oh my God.
Oof.
Oh my God.
So for the death penalty, now most people who undergo the death penalty in China are killed either by lethal injection or firing squad.
Which kind of fucks up potentially your organs.
Well, I think it depends on what they're going for. If you're going for a
Suppose.
cornea, you're probably going to do lethal injection and then get it out real quick. If you're going for a liver, then you're probably going to do firing squad and aim high.
Try to aim for the head. Wow. This is... Okay.
Yeah. Okay. In 2014, the government claimed that they stopped the organ harvesting practice amongst like all prisoners. And they said that they had created reforms and like put safeguards in place, but they fucking didn't. So this announcement was greeted internationally as a long-awaited positive development for human rights, but some pointed out that China was now likely to face a massive shortage of organs for transplant, and like, what would people do? But that shortage never materialized because they didn't actually stop harvesting organs.
There it is.
Okay. A 2019 article in the Sydney Morning Herald pointed out that the organ transplant sector of China's healthcare field was still booming and noted that, in quote, in China, it's possible to pre-book an organ transplant,
Wow.
something that would be impossible under a voluntary donor system because you never know when that...
Is going to be available.
Right.
Yeah.
Raising suspicions of widespread organ harvesting. So the fact that you can be like, yeah, on Tuesday, May 15th,
Yeah, schedule your organ transplant.
something's up because how could they possibly know that the right organ for you would be voluntarily available on that day? They couldn't.
Yeah.
They'd have to be able to go to the human being and harvest it that day for your appointment.
Ish.
Wow.
So, in fact, many hospitals in China have even gone so far as to advertise the abundance of organs they have available.
Oh my God. It's like the
We're having a closeout sale.
Sam's Club.
Oh my God. No.
Ew.
Buy in bulk.
According to one investigation, the Shanghai hospital affiliated with the Second Military Medical University in Shanghai was courting prospective patients by describing its good quality kidneys at low cost with a, quote, short waiting time due to abundant supply.
Ooh, a kidney's not going to last that long on ice.
No, you can't freeze them and store them.
No.
This is so wild.
Oh, so
like I was
gross.
aware, but I haven't looked into this deeply.
And the Kunming, which Kunming is like such a beautiful city. I love it. It was like the one city in China that I really love. The Kunming Kidney Disease Hospital in Yunnan province told prospective patients that, quote, in case of failure, we will continue to perform transplants until one is successful, and we will not charge for the repeated surgeries.
Oh my God.
No.
Oh, that's so fucking fishy.
That's not how it works.
It
is in China.
Places. Yeah.
Organ transplants in China have long been a fraught topic inextricably tied to politics. In 1978, not long after the Chinese hospitals first began performing organ transplants, which the fact that they were already performing them in the 70s, given where China was at in the 70s, is shocking. Like, they had just had mass famine, and there are some hospitals performing organ transplants. Like, that's insane. But anyway, a young teacher named Zhong Haiyun was executed in the Jiangxi province on suspicion of being a, quote, active counter-revolutionary element. So he was a political prisoner and he was executed. Zhong was shot in the back of the head and placed in an army truck where her I said he, but it's a she, where her kidneys were removed and later transplanted into an Air Force officer who was the son of a higher up in the military.
They bought her life.
Yeah.
They found out, okay, she's a match. She's a political prisoner. This higher-up's kid needs a kidney.
Top of the list. Let's go. Get it on the schedule.
Yep. So 3 years later, Zhong was exonerated and posthumously pardoned by the government, which I couldn't get into how or why, because that's pretty rare to be exonerated, but there must have been some sort of change in, part of the government that made it so that she was not considered a counter-revolutionary. In 1984, China passed a law called Provisions on the Use of Dead Bodies or Organs from Condemned Criminals that officially allowed for the harvesting of organs from executed prisoners under 3 possible conditions. If the prisoner consented to the donation before their death.
Okay.
If the surviving family consented after the prisoner's death, or if the body...
the family of the deceased.
Yep.
Okay.
Or if the body was unclaimed.
Okay.
Then it was like an automatic.
They
Sounds...
could keep it from being claimed.
Right.
Sounds fair until you take into account the context of who has power in that dynamic.
Exactly. It's literally just on paper, we're doing it ethically.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the law immediately drew international condemnation. So despite the focus on consent in the law, procedures surrounding organ harvesting from prisoners were carried out in extreme secrecy. It's not like anybody's getting a notification in the mail, like, do you consent to your
organs being harvested?
Right. So Chinese-American human rights activist Harry Wu pointed out after the law was passed that, quote, many family members of the executed prisoners dare not, would not, or are unable to claim their loved ones' bodies. They're never told anything about what's happening.
Oh, we texted you, but you didn't respond, so we just took their kidney. You can't leave those suckers on ice too long.
Not even. The government is disappearing people. They don't know where the fuck they're going or who to contact to figure it out.
Right.
They're
and
gone.
even for just regular criminals, the fear for the family members, they're not going to kick up a fuss. They don't want to get fucking labeled a
dissident.
Yeah, and then they get disappeared.
Exactly.
Yeah, people are just trying to fucking survive.
Yeah. Or even just not even fear, but like, what's the word? You just want to conform, it's like,
just be invisible, just be left alone.
Exactly. It's like,
Blend in.
I don't have anything to do with my, cousin who got sent to jail.
Right.
He was a criminal element and we disown him and we have nothing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because if you don't.
Because you don't want to get fucking.
You're making yourself a target. Yeah.
Right. Back to this quote. Quote, and the Chinese government has yet to exhibit any form by which the death row prisoners or their family members give signed consent to donate organs. So there's no paperwork.
Yeah, they ask for your consent, but then they don't give you anything to sign over your consent.
Jesus.
There are no records.
Yeah.
Nor has it been explained under what conditions they may give such consent. So also, like, even if there were paperwork. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. You better consent to this or we're going to starve your entire family
or make your conditions in prison worse or whatever.
There is no choice.
It's just a farce.
Yeah.
They're not even asking anyone. It's just on paper.
Oof.
So soon there were rampant rumors of livers, kidneys, and corneas being removed from living prisoners before execution.
Ooh.
And this is for use by Communist Party high-ups because then it's like real
torture and like
oh my god. So these are still people who are on death row, but
so they're gonna be killed anyway. But you can pay a higher premium for like a living quote unquote organ, probably.
Well, it's just fresher, so it's more likely to. I don't know if it actually is more likely to work in the transplant or not, but they're doing the surgery before the person is executed.
Yeah, I just imagine in like the capitalist hierarchy of brokering these deals, there's probably a way to get more money.
Well, it's either money or it's status,
Right,
it's
and or it could be both. It could,
right.
To be like, for this price, we have these corneas, but
it's also just like if you're a bigwig in the Communist Party.
You're going to have access to that kind of shit.
Exactly.
Fuck.
That's one of the perks.
It's like the steak tartare of organ transplants.
I love steak tartare.
So the last thing that these prisoners are experiencing is a surgery to remove one of their organs, and then they're executed. How fun.
Ugh.
So, for years, the international medical community continued to strongly disapprove of China's organ harvesting practice while not actually doing fucking anything to stop it because there's nothing anyone could do. People are like, well, the UN. It's like the UN can't fucking. Remember
when we talked? What was it? The UN blue berets or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
The
that's
UN.
it's like the red hat ladies. We've been over this.
Yeah, they have no power independent of the countries that belong to the UN.
They are just taking up a table at Applebee's during Sunday Rush. That's all they're fucking doing, you guys.
And the Chinese government is a whole other animal.
It's can of
not.
worms.
Doesn't give a shit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, according to one source, the main problem was that there was, quote, there were still no concrete international laws to mandate authority in criminalizing the Chinese law regarding the human organ trade. And also they could just put their laws on paper and to conform if a law did exist and then not follow it. And there's nothing anyone could fucking do about it. So then in March 2006, two shocking stories came to the international public's attention through anonymous tips to media sources. The first was from a man calling himself Peter, a Chinese man, who claimed that practitioners of the Chinese spiritualist movement Falun Gong
I'm so glad you're talking about
were being held in secret concentration camps in northeast China, where on-site doctors were removing inmates' organs in order to sell them on the international market.
God.
This was the part in that laundromat story.
Yeah.
They were Falun Gong prisoners.
Yeah, and Falun Gong, I don't know enough about it to like weigh in on whether it's a peaceful religion or
A cult.
a weird cult or both.
Well,
But-
if
Like
you've
what
seen
religion
those
isn't a cult.
Shun Yun billboards in your town, which you definitely have,
China before communism,
Before
baby.
communism.
kind of related.
Apparently it's problematic, and they fund like some far right stuff in the West, and they're
Hey,
anti-vaccine.
all of that can be true, and you can't just take their fucking organs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they still deserve human rights.
Yep.
So anyway, a few days later, a woman calling herself Annie also came forward to a journalist. She claimed that between 2003 and 2005, her ex-husband, a surgeon in China, had harvested thousands of corneas from Falun Gong prisoners in a concentration camp in northeast China, and that their bodies had then been cremated
Thousands.
to destroy the evidence. Yeah.
Exactly. If you cremate. Yep. Okay.
Jesus.
That's what I figured.
So,
Damn.
because cremation is not
It's not a common
common
practice.
in China. No.
And this
So that's a
group
choice.
is super like spiritual. It's a religion ostensibly. So
It's a religion that's a lot about the body and like meditative and
connection
like
to the earth.
physical practices. So it's like even more insulting.
And
I mean,
who
it's not
knows
good
if
for
one of
anybody,
their stipulations is to not burn your body after death. I don't know
I'm pretty
that.
sure it is. I'm pretty sure they're intactivists.
Okay.
When they-
Okay, intactivist only applies to
Fast
the
deferens.
the scrotal movement.
Anyway,
Scroll.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Intact.
I'm
Not
an
the right
intactivist.
word, but I love it.
Leave my foreskin alone.
Falun Gong, like we said, is a religious movement. It was founded in China in the early 1990s. The name roughly translates to Dharma wheel practice, and it has been described as a mixture of Taoist and Buddhist principles. It involves intense meditation practices, breathing exercises, and like Tai Chi, similar to Tai Chi practices. There's a photo on the drive of like they have special sacred poses that they stand in, whatever. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Falun Gong claims to focus on the central tenets of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. And at first, actually, the Communist Party was okay with Falun Gong existing because they're like, whatever, they're peaceful. They just want to like meditate and stretch in parks.
Go do your thing.
Right. But then there were 70 million practitioners of this religion within like a decade. And that was more than the number of Communist Party official members.
So they felt overrun or outnumbered.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes. So according to Matthew Robertson, a PhD student in Chinese politics, quote, Falun Gong had no political ambitions, but if you claim that your body and your beliefs are your own and that you have a right to follow those beliefs, then in China that is seen as an
That's like
implicitly
radical.
political claim.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Or in any red state in the U.S. if you have a female body. Okay, it's fine.
or a trans body.
Yeah, exactly. Or a body that isn't male and white.
Yeah,
There's organs that the governing body doesn't agree with.
So then on April 25th, 1999, approximately 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners gathered for a demonstration outside Communist Party headquarters in Beijing. And at first it was just, it was totally peaceful and tame. They literally sat there meditating. They collected all their garbage when they left the square. It was totally peaceful. But just the simple fact that like 10,000 people could gather in the center of Beijing and the authorities didn't know it was coming.
Yeah, was a big, scary threat to the government.
Yup.
Spooked them. This is less than 10 years after Tiananmen Square. Freaked him out. So suddenly Falun Gong is like not okay.
Threat.
So 2 months after the demonstration, the government created the 610 office, which is a, quote, shadowy extrajudicial security agency
Don't like
focused
that.
on eliminating the threat of Falun Gong. They got like their own mini KGB to go after them, basically.
Yeah.
Mass arrests followed. They start holding Falun Gong practitioners in like repurposed sports stadiums, which will be very familiar to anyone who's like studied World War II.
Yuck. I was thinking Hurricane Katrina, but
Oh, well, in World War II in France, the first one of the first sites that they like the Nazis brought Jews to was a sports stadium in the middle of Paris. And they held them there for like several days before they deported them to camps
gross.
with like no food or water.
Yep.
So there are show trials. There's a ton of propaganda. The government is all in against Falun Gong and saying they're an evil cult and whatever. Okay, according to investigative journalist Ethan Gutman, who published a 2004 book called The Slaughter, Mass Killings, Organ Harvesting, and China's Secret Solution to its Dissident Problem, by the mid-2000s, there were between 450,000 and 1 million Falun Gong imprisoned in re-education camps,
Oh, dear.
psychiatric hospitals, and black jails.
Ooh, like black sites.
Yeah,
Ooh.
jails
I
that...
don't know what that is.
Black sites are what the U.S. government created around in different countries to hold terrorism suspects.
They also had, well, arguably, but basically, them in the 2020 protests. That you remember the videos of like random SUVs just snatching up protesters?
Yeah.
And they would go into warehouses where there was like no cell phone service. It was totally blocked off. It's fucking scary.
Yeah.
And they're government operated places
Places to detain people
and isolate them.
that aren't
Right.
on paper, that the public and media aren't supposed to know exist.
Right. Wow.
So this was the context for these two whistleblowers, Peter and Annie, who made these claims of mass organ harvesting of Falun Gong people, because there were 500,000 to 1 million Falun Gong people in concentration camps.
A lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
A lot of corneas.
So initially there was widespread skepticism of these claims just because they're such big claims.
Right. The numbers are huge.
Yeah. And because they appeared in a far-right newspaper called the Epoch Times, which is based in New York City, and it's affiliated with Falun Gong, and it's far-right, and it's weird, and does create a lot of misinformation. So at first the claims were like, well, if it's coming from this newspaper, it can't be right, but like, let's look into it. So several investigative journalists not affiliated with that newspaper began to see if they could independently verify these claims. So some investigators made phone calls to Chinese hospitals pretending to be prospective transplant recipients, being like, hey, can I make an appointment to get this? And like, how does this work? You know, where do you get the kidney from? And just see like what people tell you. Or they would pretend to be organ brokers. And then they would ask specifically about the availability of Falun Gong organs. And some would say like that they preferred Falun Gong organs because they like take good care of their bodies.
Yeah, because like a lot of them were like vegans. They didn't drink. They exercised a lot.
They meditated. They were, low stress, whatever.
I am so safe from the organ trade, let me tell you. I'm going to keep up. I'm protecting myself.
So several of these phone calls...
self-preservation.
Yeah.
Several of these phone calls resulted in recorded admissions that organs were being procured from Falun Gong prisoners. Now, whether or not this is a legit admission or it's just a salesperson being like, yeah, we can get you some Falun Gong.
You want Falun Gong? We can get you Falun Gong.
Yeah. I could see it both ways, but they have people on tape saying,
right, confirming.
We'll get you Falun Gong, whatever, kidneys and corneas.
I got a guy.
I got
this author, Ethan Gutman, interviewed dozens of former Chinese prisoners, including 16 Falun Gong practitioners, in order to test the veracity of the anonymous claims. Many described undergoing unusual medical tests that seemed primarily concerned with assessing the health of their internal organs.
Weird.
One man, a Falun Gong practitioner named Wang Xiaohua, described how he and 20 other Falun Gong detainees were taken to a hospital where they had large quantities of blood drawn, in addition to urine samples and abdominal x-rays. Although most of the men had physical injuries that they had received while in custody, the hospital staff gave them no treatment for these. So they were literally just there to be tested.
Yep.
And they weren't given any treatment for their injuries.
Diagnosis, no therapy.
Diagnosis, wait it out, let them die, take their organs, potentially.
Well, we don't give a shit if you have a broken leg.
Yeah.
Like we don't fucking
We're
care.
here for your kidney.
Right.
Ish.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the story was echoed with eerie similarity in several other interviews, and those people didn't know each other, so they were just, corroborating what each said. Although the Chinese government adamantly denied harvesting organs from any political as opposed to criminal prisoners, so they were like, no, we just the ones that are on death row.
It's like, yeah,
they're
we're
murderers.
still harvesting, but only from these folks.
Yeah.
Well, that's what their little outline said.
Right.
That's
We're
what they
doing
still
it the
say.
way we promised we would do it.
And what do you care if,
As long as you're getting
if
that
it's a
cornea.
murderer, that's what they, So the international community began to accept as truth that the Falun Gong were being targeted in this manner. In July of 2014, the Foreign Affairs Subcommittee of the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously adopted a resolution condemning all this shit. Whatever. I'm not going to read it because it has no teeth. It doesn't matter. In response to the resolution, a Chinese embassy spokesperson declared, quote, the so-called organ harvesting from death row prisoners is a total lie fabricated by Falun Gong. So just denying it. And then they also accused American lawmakers of supporting and conniving with Falun Gong. China's denial that they were taking organs from the Falun Gong did receive some international support. A 2017 Washington Post article claimed to have disproved the story by investigating the amount of immunosuppressant drugs being used in China, which are necessary for organ transplants. So they were like, well, let's see.
Does this trace or track? Yeah.
So the article found that it was, quote, not plausible that the Chinese government was carrying out a massive secret organ harvesting operation because China's share of the global demand for immunosuppressants did not support it.
So the immunosuppressants are for the recipient. So they don't reject this new organ.
Correct.
But let's go back to that claim of if at first you don't succeed,
try again.
We'll do another surgery.
And if individuals outside, like if people are, like you said, traveling for like organ tourism,
bring your own.
Then
maybe they brought their own.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting immunosuppressants, necessarily from China.
Yeah, because all you'd need is like a little bit because the immunosuppressants, as I understand, is a treatment that you do for like weeks and weeks after your surgery. So after you go home, you get it from your doctor at home or whatever. And also, who's to say that China can't manufacture their own fucking immunosuppressants without taking from the global supply?
Books. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. It would not be hard.
The red string is forming in my mind's eye here, people. Maybe all of the immunosuppressants are part of the simulation and the Space Needle is hoarding them.
We're on to something. All right. However, in 2018, an independent inquiry called the China Tribunal was held in London to investigate the murder of Chinese political prisoners and the harvesting of their organs. The tribunal ultimately concluded that, quote, official transplant statistics in China are routinely falsified, just like every other statistic in China, and that instead of performing 10,000 operations as claimed, the real figure is between 60,000 and 90,000 a year.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot when fewer than 100 people voluntarily donate each year.
Yeah.
Big discrepancy. Also, like I said at the top, we don't know how many people are executed like on death row every year, but it is not between 60 and 90,000. It's like closer to 20,000, maybe fewer.
Which is still
crazy
a fucking
huge
lot.
number. All of
But
that's just
it's a
huge
big
numbers.
discrepancy.
Right. It's not enough to compensate for all of the transplants that are being done.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't explain where these fucking organs are coming from.
Right. It found that the main source of these organs were Falun Gong, but that Uyghurs, a mostly Muslim minority, up to 1.5 million of whom are incarcerated in China, were at risk of becoming the next organ bank. And
I wondered. Yeah, because that's been escalating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been going on for a long time.
And also the Uyghur, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Falun Gong members are more like, I'm going to opt into this, whereas Uyghurs is more of like a cultural thing. Like you are
Uyghurs is both
it's a
ethnic
minority.
and religious. It's like an ethnic and religious minority. They are Muslim. They look different than Han Chinese. They have different practices. They live, or they were living in their own region in Xinjiang.
You can't just opt out of being a Uyghur as you could potentially opt out of being a member of Falun Gong.
Right. Yep. It's also very identified. You also can't escape being labeled a Uyghur. Although the 1999 crackdown against Falun Gong was at the time considered to be the worst instance of religious persecution in China since the Cultural Revolution, it has been far overshadowed by the crackdown against Uyghur Muslims in the province of Xinjiang, which is ongoing, and it is genocide.
It's hideous. It's so fucking gross.
It's absolutely genocide. As many as 1.5 million of this minority group have been held prisoner in China's northwest since 2017. Human rights groups have voiced grave concern about the treatment of Uyghurs, and stories have emerged of them being subject to medical testing, similar to that being practiced on Falun Gong prisoners. There's also been forced sterilization of Uyghur women, re-education camps, concentration camps, like stealing of property. It's genocide.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's my case.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great spot to end.
So
I'm speechless.
Like, obviously, I have the privilege of currently in my body not requiring an organ transplant to survive.
Currently.
You never know. I mean, who knows?
Literally never know.
Oh, yeah.
But that being said, please do not go to China to get an organ transplant.
Be a conscientious organ consumer.
Yes.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Being kind of. My case is very different from yours.
Shop local.
Extremely different. But also, I think will spark some fascinating conversation. So I'm curious your feedback. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm excited to get to it.
Wow, that was fucking horrific.
Yeah. I knew
Well
a
done.
lot of that, but Jesus, when you just list it all in one spot, you're like, oh, fucking crazy.
Right.
And there's so
And-
much more to say. Like, honestly,
Right.
that barely scratches the surface of the
Yeah.
cornea.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Well, and it's so scary too because barely scratched the cornea.
We do not want to scratch cornea.
With conflict, both here and abroad, like every government participates in this sort of like hierarchy of crisis to get you to look over here and then not look over here. And so when we talk about situations like this, it can become really overwhelming. And like I walk away from these moments feeling like pretty nihilistic, where it's like, well, there's so much wrong and it's
Where do you
so
start?
overwhelming. Like, where do you even fucking start?
One of
And
the
so I
things
guess
that we did, I mean, we don't have that much in savings or investments or retirement, but we have some, right? And so we told our investment people who decide what to buy on the stock market, because I don't fucking know.
Right.
Absolutely no Chinese companies.
Right.
We said it was okay for like companies based outside of China that operate in China, because then it's like Apple and like literally everything. So we were like, that's okay. But we were like, no Russia, no China, no oil and gas, just trying to make sure that like our investments are not supporting genocidal regimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Consider divesting.
Yeah. I mean, there are tangible steps that can be taken, and
those steps look different for everybody.
For everyone, yeah. It's
Right.
it's just a scary thought. So I expressed it because I was feeling it.
It's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, let's go plant a tree real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go plant a tree quick and be right back to go into my case.
Perfect.
All right.
It's springtime, and that means everyone's in the mood for some spring cleaning. Well, maybe not literally, but we're told that we should be in the mood for spring cleaning. So that's not only just like wiping down your windowsills and like taking stuff to Salvation Army, but it's also
I have
like
to do both of those things.
I know, I'm sorry, I just made you a list.
That's okay.
But it's also like decluttering your head, because it's been a very long, very grueling winter. Stuff has happened. And you got some cobwebs up there. Maybe you got stuff you just got to get off your chest.
There's something.
Yeah, there's something really rejuvenating about getting down to what's essential and starting fresh. So like I said, the same goes with your mind. Over the years, thoughts and emotions can build up. And that's why it is so important to talk to someone who's trained to help you declutter your mental space, because it's just as important, if not more, than your physical space.
And sometimes taking the first step towards getting help can be scary, but it really doesn't have to be, because I know you're texting all day. I know you got that phone in your hand or in your pocket, and that is literally how you get started on Talkspace. Like, it doesn't have to be intimidating. It is just sending a text to your therapist. It's amazing. So no matter where you are in your mental health journey, you can just talk to a therapist who's trained to help. They have, specialties in all different kinds of issues that somebody might be facing. So depression, anxiety, even like eating disorders. I mean, they're licensed therapists. They're trained to help. And it just makes such a huge difference. And Talkspace takes some of the pressure off taking that first step, so you don't have to find a therapist who's physically in your area and figure out the parking situation at their office and schedule it and make room in your busy schedule. No, Talkspace is more flexible, it's convenient, and it's an affordable way to get high quality care. My husband uses Talkspace literally while he's walking on the treadmill. So he just kills two birds with one stone. He does his workout and he does his mental workout with his therapist at the same time, because he's a busy guy.
So if thoughts and emotions are piling up, a fresh perspective can help you feel better. Match with your dedicated therapist today at Talkspace.com and use promo code GALS during sign up to get $100 off your first month. That's $100 off at Talkspace.com, promo code GALS, and treat your brain.
Treat it. It can be hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you have high interest debt, especially high interest credit card debt. And sometimes it can be even harder to ask for help. I know, because I've been there. That is where Upstart comes in.
Absolutely. Upstart-powered personal loans can help you pay down high-interest debt all online with simple and easy-to-understand payment terms. Upstart has helped over 1.8 million customers on their path to financial freedom, whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses. Upstart can help you get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. Upstart knows you're more than just your credit score, so rather than looking at your credit score alone, Upstart's model considers the other factors like your income, employment, and other information provided in your loan application to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate in minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000 without impacting your credit score. And you can even receive funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loan.
So don't wait and check your rate today at upstart.com/gals. That's upstart.com/GALS to check your rate today. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/gals and treat your debt.
Treat it. Are you ready for my case?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kenyon scared me.
It's nothing like that, really.
Okay.
Oh, good.
I mean, yeah, it's really not. Like, so this case is very fascinating to me. It's morally and ethically gray. So I'm excited to have a discussion about it.
Okay.
So I'm going to do my best not to completely unravel over the predatory and deadly healthcare system that we have here in the United States.
Literally the worst of all worlds.
Yep. It's deeply flawed. It targets the poor and the working class and people of color, and we simply do not treat basic human health and survival as a birthright. And we notice, okay? Mm-hmm. So on top of access disparities in healthcare, even if you do have great insurance and a great care team, getting an organ is a process. Mm-hmm. And even those who qualify as high priority for the most common transplant procedures, which are kidneys, fewer than half of those priority patients even get on the wait list. So, like, you have to go through a series of tests to become eligible to receive a transplant. And then a lot of people will pass those tests and be priority patients and able to receive a transplant and have a projected quality of life.
Waitlisted for the wait list, basically? Like, there's a backup wait list?
I think so, but that was really hard for me to understand, too. The information I found was that they just don't make it on the wait list. Like, I assume they're waiting to get on the wait list somehow.
Right.
But they're not on it.
I think, yeah, it depends on, like, the severity of your...
Yeah, but that's the whole point, is that you will, there's a very specific test for exactly that.
They've already been deemed priority.
They've already been through all of that, and they still don't make it on the wait list. Like, that's the problem. So researcher Jesse Schold of the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio conducted a study to discover this discouraging result and noted that these patients who don't make it on the list were all great candidates and likely to do very well after receiving a transplant. But by the time they finally make it onto the list, many of them no longer qualify. So their condition worsens.
Yeah. That sucks.
It's really fucking sad.
Catch-22. It's like, do you want to prioritize the people that are in good enough condition that they are most likely to be successful
and live a robust life?
I mean, you kind of have, like, the process of qualification already includes that.
Yeah.
Like, it does include the anticipated survival and quality of life, because as you were getting to, they're not going to prioritize a candidate for such a
you don't want to waste a kidney on someone who's
probably not going to have a good chance of survival in the long term after the procedure, which is really fucking sad to think about.
Right.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
If a child with their whole, like, who's going to bounce back and have their whole life ahead of them
versus like someone in their 90s,
a 90-year-old woman who, like, might survive it, but, you know, it's like, this would be
and it's not that black and white.
It's not.
Then you start to get more and more into the gray.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're going to be comparing two very similar people and deciding which one lives and which one dies.
Literally identical. I mean, it would be fucking hell to be responsible for whatever this approval process is, because I'm certain that applicants have, like, identical criteria. Yeah. And a lot of it is just like, who's a match? When can we access an organ? Like, there's
who
so
signed
much
up
to it.
First.
Exactly. There's a lot to it. Yeah. So, quote, Scold's team found of dialysis patients, 61% fell out of the top 20% group within 30 months. And as seen through U.S. healthcare, there were disparities. Black patients and those from low-income groups were less likely to be waitlisted. So they just don't make it on the list at all.
Even while controlling for other factors, or...
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep.
Fucking great.
So obviously some of this delay is also attributed to availability of the organ. Like, I'm not saying that it's all the healthcare system's fault by any means, but a broken system only further fucks with an already challenging situation. So it's bad. And this list won't be shortening anytime soon. Quote, kidney transplant is considered the best option for most people with end-stage kidney disease or kidney failure. Currently, more than 90,000 Americans are on the donor kidney wait list, according to the United Network for Organ Sharing, the nonprofit that manages the nation's donor organ system. So if you think about 90,000 Americans that made it onto that list,
right,
and then an additional... what's half of 90,000?
For 45,000.
There's probably roughly 45,000 people who qualified as under the criteria of becoming a recipient who are not on the list at all.
At any given time.
At any given time.
Oh, wow. God. That's too many people.
Yeah. So we have a need, and there are individuals out there who find ways to fill it. So in 2007, the World Health Organization did research and came up with an estimation that 5 to 10% of kidney transplants use illegal organs purchased via organ trafficking in the United States.
Up to 10%?
Yep.
Oh.
And this number is an estimation and likely far smaller than the reality, as these deals are brokered in underground channels that are often not caught and certainly not reported.
Oh,
so it's probably a lot more.
Fucking God.
Are they faking paperwork so that
we'll get to it.
Doctors don't know, or
We'll
they
get
have in
to it.
secret surgeries?
Just Google that
my
shit.
God.
We'll get to it.
Give me a kidney.
It's nuts. So enter Levi Isaac Rosenbaum. This is a man who referred to himself as a matchmaker and, quote, the Robin Hood of kidneys. Listen, this is where things get gray because capitalism. Like, this man made a lot of money off of the kidney trade. We are not arguing that. In 2011, he admitted to brokering deals on 3 kidneys, though it was definitely more than that. And we don't know exactly how many more, but
This is what they had proof for.
when talking about his assets and how long he was in this business,
If you do the math.
it was a lot. That he purchased from folks in fairly dire financial need, living abroad for around $10,000 US per kidney, which is like a lot of money for folks.
In certain contexts,
In certain
it's a lot
contexts,
of money.
it's a lot
In
of
other
money, yeah.
contexts, it's not.
It's not, correct. And then selling them to folks here in the United States for $100,000+ a piece. But you can't just buy a kidney off the street or on Craigslist. So
Well, you probably can.
I mean,
You
you
can.
probably can. But
Not a quality kidney.
right. This is mostly happening through like hospitals and quote unquote legal medical channels.
Abroad, brought to the U.S.
Right. This says, quote, it's a complex process, explains Monir Maniruzaman. He's a professor of anthropology at Michigan State University and an expert in illegal organ trafficking. Quote, tissue typing has to be matched, papers are forged, recipients and sellers will have forged passports claiming that they are family members, and it's happening in established medical centers.
So basically they're like, hey, my brother-in-law in Turkey donated his kidney to me.
My cousin,
when
When
can we get this surgery scheduled?
It is legal to consent to living donation of, say, a kidney, or I have a friend who gave a kidney to a stranger. She's like an incredible person. But
I know
or
someone who gave a kidney to her best friend.
yeah,
But
you
also-
don't get paid for it. That's where you can't
True.
sell it. That's where it gets illegal.
Also,
in the US.
if it's like your sibling, there's a higher chance that you have the
you're gonna
same
match.
blood type. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you
So,
bring in a donor, do you get bumped up on the waiting list? Like, say you have a sister who wants to donate, but then you're not the tissue match, and then she donates, and then you get bumped up to get a stranger's one?
I don't think
That's called match pairing. And
Oh.
our beautiful fan picker told me
Does
about
that?
Yes.
Oh.
It is called, hold on, let me get to it.
That's really cool. I figured that wouldn't be the case, but
It's really neat.
it's like you can't have this one, but since you're sourcing a kidney, we'll bump you up to get your
it's
kidney.
like
is that what
your
you're saying?
sister is donating her kidney to you, but it's actually going to be somebody else's kidney, and they get
Yep.
hers.
So this is called a paired donation. So kidney paired donations matches one incompatible donor and recipient pair to another pair with a complementary incompatibility, so that the donor of the first pair gives the recipient of the second, and vice versa.
Interesting.
So that is a thing. It's called a paired donation.
And
which
that makes sense. Like if you are filling a need
Yeah,
in that capacity. I mean,
it's
anyway,
a weird workaround.
It's so wild.
Yeah, but then in the paired, so I think I got it a little bit wrong because in the paired sense, it's a direct swap. It's not getting bumped up the wait list. It's like
not
literally.
getting bumped. Yeah. I think that means you can bypass the wait list entirely because you're not waiting anymore.
Right, you're swapping.
Found it.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you again to our fan picker.
Yeah.
To Tammy.
Cutthroat.
So Levy, who is living in Brooklyn, and I believe still lives in Brooklyn, would purchase the kidneys and then sell them to hospitals to then use in patients in need of transplants. So, quote, the transplants took place at top U.S. hospitals, including at the Albert Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia. Assistant U.S. Attorney Mark McCarran said Rosenbaum engaged in the practice for up to a decade and made millions by, this is their quote, exploiting desperate recipients and paying donors paltry sums. I think a little bit of that is overblown because it's like, this is a U.S. attorney that was like working on this case. But
Well, I mean,
the sentiment is
paltry
true.
sum is different.
Margin is quite stark.
Vastly big. Yeah.
And someone is donating an organ. And so
Yep.
if you were doing it on a nonprofit basis,
right.
it'd be one thing.
Exactly.
But he's
the capitalism is the part that I'm like,
his profit
oh,
margin
man.
is much better than ours.
Yeah, it really is. Those fucking patriarchy leggings are not cheap to make, let me tell you.
We barely make any money off of
We
merch.
eat a lot of costs that y'all don't have to
We
pay.
made a deal for you.
$100,000 on a kidney. So I'm going to be pulling a lot of this next section directly from court records in this case because they simply like explain it better than I can how this was done. So, manner and means. It was part of this conspiracy that defendant Rosenbaum would arrange for the recipient to provide him with a blood sample to enable him and his co-conspirators to locate a suitable donor who is willing to sell their kidney. So if you need one, you come with the paperwork. This is my blood type. This is my blah, blah, blah. Can you find me a kidney?
Mm-hmm.
It was further a part of this conspiracy that a co-conspirator would locate and identify a suitable donor willing to sell his or her kidney, their kidney, based on the blood sample provided to the defendant by the recipient. So if you're a match and you're consenting to this, we will make the arrangements. The defendant would assist the donor and the recipient to coordinate a cover story to mislead hospital personnel into believing the donation of the kidney was a purely voluntary act and not a commercial transaction. Because this is where the aforementioned illegal documents will often come into play because folks will have fake IDs drawn to impersonate a relative or even like a close friend, you know, like just someone somewhere who's a match. And this is my relationship with this person.
And this is why I want to give out of the kindness of my heart. And I'm definitely not getting paid.
Exactly. Yep. Precisely. So he was successfully broking deals like this for over a decade and was finally caught by a female undercover agent who posed as a woman seeking a kidney for her sick uncle in 2006. With the help of a witness who was aware and party to Levy's business deals, communication began. So basically, this witness agreed to be a rat for the feds to get out of jail time because they were like part of the match process. Like they were out there.
Aware of all the shit.
Correct. They were an active participant in helping Levy Rosenbaum find matches. Like they were a middleman. So the three parties began their communications in 2006. So the rat, the undercover buyer, and Levy. But it wasn't until 2008 that the process moved into the next steps because he's not harvesting organs unwilling from people. You still have to find
The
a
right match who's willing. And then negotiate the price and da-da-da.
Yep. So it wasn't until 2008 when things could actually start moving forward. So in 2008, Levy instructed the undercover buyer to send a partial payment for the kidney totaling $50,000. These payments would be made out to a third party to essentially launder it, to make it untraceable.
Was the total cost for the kidney $50,000 or the partial?
No, we'll get
Sounds
to the
like
total
a
cost. That's a
deposit.
partial payment. Yep. Levy also set up a time to meet with the buyer in February of 2008. So the buyer went to Levy's home in Brooklyn later that same week, accompanied by the rat, the third-party rat. At this meeting, Levy informed the buyer that he could indeed procure a kidney for her uncle and that the price would be $150,000, partially to be paid to the consenting donor.
And partially for him.
In another in-person meeting a few weeks later to go over details, the buyer, the undercover cop, expressed concern of the legality of the transaction and getting caught to get him to talk so they could record what he said. And Levy assured her that he was well aware this was an illegal transaction, but that he would make arrangements for a cover story that would make the transaction appear legitimate. So he's also making, at least brokering deals for, and
the paperwork,
getting paid for paperwork, falsified documents, laundering money. Like, there's a lot of illegal shit that goes into buying a kidney.
Yeah.
Apparently.
By August 2008, Levy had accepted 4 checks totaling $10,000 each as payment installments for the kidney. These transactions considered for a year, and in July of 2009, Levy informed the undercover buyer that a kidney match had been found and that they were ready for harvest, basically, and that a colleague would be bringing blood samples and pertinent medical information to the donor for final cross-check. So, like, from the recipient to the donor for a final check before the harvesting procedure. Yep, to make sure everything's right. He also upped his rate from the original $150,000 to $160,000 for reasons not listed in court records. But, like, inflation, y'all, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe,
you got him on the
stuff
hook.
Came
what
up.
are they going to do? Walk away at that point over 10 grand?
Right.
Exactly. So that same month.
You should be a realtor.
Right. That same month, Levy met up with the undercover buyer to get the blood sample and information that his colleague needed to obtain the kidney. He did not get samples, but he did get handcuffs.
Handcuffs?
That's where handcuffs come in.
Got it.
So, from the New York Times, quote, the arrest was part of a sweeping federal case that became the largest corruption sting in New Jersey history, involving charges of international money laundering and bribery of municipal officials. So, all of that's going to circle back to document forgery and who is getting access to
A lot of people are getting caught in that
kidneys. Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this for over a decade, and you think that, like, wealthy, powerful people who don't want to be on a fucking medical wait list aren't participating in this? Because this isn't just people who don't qualify. It's also people who get on the wait list but just don't want to wait. They can buy themselves out of it.
Rich people don't wait.
Yeah.
They do not wait.
Yep. But before we let Levy Rosenbaum be painted as, like, the supervillain of this story, and there certainly are a lot of villains in the literal trafficking of human organs, like, see Kenyon's case.
It's definitely exploitative, too, to, like, offer a desperately poor person.
It is. It's deeply fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But Levy's approach was not the same as we've come to see in movies and media, and actually more commonly in the trafficking trade.
Yeah, he wasn't kidnapping people.
Correct. So his defense team was quick to highlight the fact that Levy never solicited or coerced organ donation from abroad, and that all donors were able to provide informed consent to the procedures and transactions. The harvesting procedures, as well as implantation, like the actual transplant procedures themselves, were done by trained medical professionals in a medical setting, and his donors were not left to die or left unpaid in the process, which are two unfortunate outcomes that are very common in the exploitative organ trade.
Right.
In Kenyon's case.
Well, I mean, part of human trafficking is organ trafficking. Like,
Yep.
yeah, if somebody is, like Amanda said, being kidnapped, or like, you know, the surgery is taking place in like a, you know, non-medical facility, or their care afterwards is not being taken into consideration, they can get infections, whatever, or they're never paid, even though they're promised to be paid. That's all human trafficking.
And that's basically what my next portion says. So it says lots of times donors are destitute and willing to give the organ before they even get paid. So they'll go do the surgery because they're so desperate. And these fucking predators are like, well, once you deliver, then we'll pay you. And then they never get paid. And if they die, they just take way fucking more than you consented to giving. You consented to giving a kidney or a piece of a liver.
And if you die on the table, great. Then now they got some other shit.
Yeah, now I've got your eyes, I've got your lung, like all this shit.
Jesus Christ.
No, I mean, it's true, though.
I know.
This is real. It's crazy. And if they do survive, they can't afford aftercare treatment, and they are not being provided with it in most cases. So, like, again, I want to make something very clear. I'm not fucking condoning this, like,
no,
in any way, shape, or form. This is where I do get some complicated feelings about this case, because, like, my frustration and anger really isn't even with Levy Rosenbaum at all, who, of all of the folks profiting from the illegal organ trade, is actually trying to, like, get paid, yes, but also not leave desperate donors or desperate recipients to die. And if the healthcare system was more equitable, this wouldn't even be a fucking market in such desperate need of filling. It would still be a challenging situation.
I think it gets gray when you start talking about numbers. Like everyone has their price, and we as Americans in 2022 can agree that like 10 grand for a kidney is probably not enough.
It's not a lot of money, no.
But like, what if people were getting paid $1 million for a kidney? Would it then be okay?
We'll kind of get to that.
Right.
So this is obviously this underground organ market is obviously a really fucking dangerous alternative. And if it's not done with the utmost care, it can be a huge public health issue as well as deadly and exploitative. So Levy's defense stated that, quote, the transplants were successful and the donors and recipients are now leading full and healthy lives. In fact, because of the transplants and for the first time in many years, the recipients are no longer burdened by the medical and substantial health dangers associated with dialysis and kidney failure.
It's similar to
and financial dangers.
Anytime you have illegal medical procedures going on, the risks are really huge. It sounds like in this case, it's like when abortion. Well, now we're back to it. When abortion was illegal, and I'm sure that there were some doctors who like took great pains,
utmost care,
to make sure that their patients were okay, and then their patients were okay, and they were okay at the end of it, and everybody went on to have like happy lives. But then there are others who don't, and they fall through the cracks.
Anytime,
the thing, too,
anytime there's a moral gray area, there's going to be people exploiting this.
Yeah,
always. So, but frankly, if you're gonna get a black market kidney, Levy Rosenbaum is the one to go to because he's not gonna set you up to fail. He delivers. So obviously, the U.S. attorney for New Jersey, who was prosecuting this case, did not agree with this approach.
Uh-oh.
He also makes very good points, and as I often say, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So he said in court that, quote, a black market in human organs is not only a grave threat to public health, it reserves life-saving treatment for those who can best afford it at the expense of those who cannot. And yes, as people who are finally seeing the destructive nature of capitalism, pointing at myself, this is obviously an issue. But the system we have now is already built to prioritize the wealthy and the privileged who can have access to it. So, this argument also kind of makes me laugh because, if this man broke the law and he needs to be accountable for that, I'm not disagreeing.
Our healthcare is already completely wrapped up in capitalism and what you can't afford.
So this fucking lawyer is getting on a soapbox to posture your prosecution on the morality of access to these procedures, then maybe you should be taking the existing system to court. Because all this is a privatized version of
this is just
privatized underground version of what we're already fucking doing.
It really is.
It's just our current system kind of exacerbated, sped up a little
privatized.
It's quite literally exactly the same. Yeah. Just one person's getting really rich in what we're calling this one illegal, but don't do the same shit through a hospital
because
and it's not
he's
fucking
not
illegal.
Humana,
right?
He's
exactly
Hunmana.
That's where I'm like this. This is where I get into the gray area of this whole thing because I'm like, I can't be mad at fucking Levy. Fuck you. He's just doing what fucking the healthcare system is doing.
Trying to do.
And hanging out in his $2 million house in Brooklyn.
There are a lot of parallels with international surrogacy. Domestic surrogacy, I think, is a little more equitable, although, I don't know, I'm not involved in it. But international surrogacy, you're paid. You got poor people in a different context where the value of money is vastly different. And you got wealthy Westerners.
Americans, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, surrogacy and adoption even. All of it.
The difference with surrogacy, of course, is that it's a regenerative process. You're not giving something that can't grow back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. It's not one. It's gray.
So are organs to an extent.
It's fucking
What
gray.
am I trying to say? It's
I get what you're saying. It's not as much of a commodity because you can do it multiple times in your capable body.
You can only give one kidney.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
It's just nuts. So that's where like when I say I have complicated feelings about this case, that's why I have complicated feelings about this case. I'm not saying that what this man did was like heroic by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And it cracks me up too that he literally referred to himself as the Robin Hood of kidneys. It's like, you're making so much money.
Like, this is an exploitative racket, but so is the American healthcare system.
Exactly. He's literally just found a way to personally and illegally privatize an existing
reframing the status quo.
Yes, exactly.
Literally it.
It's also just inevitable. Like,
of course it is
gonna happen in our system.
Oh, yeah. And it's been happening for such a long time. I mean, this guy finally got caught, or started to get caught in 2006. Didn't go to court till 2009, and he'd already been doing this for over a decade.
Right.
And he's one of very few people, probably globally, trying to do it in a somewhat safe way.
It sounds like he actually got
He gave a shit.
Signed consent from these people.
He could be doing it like the Chinese government's doing it.
That's
there is a more profitable way to do it.
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse.
Yeah.
So, quote, there is a serious organ shortage in the world, again, said this expert, Monir Maniruzaman.
That is such a bizarre statement.
I know, but it's true.
I know, it's so gross.
We should be recycling more body parts, and bioengineering can be part of the solution too. There's no breakthrough yet, but these are our alternative ways forward. So basically, it's like this market is really only going to keep expanding as the global population expands. And if we are not investing in smart solutions, we're going to have many more cases of trafficking that are on the darker side of things.
There's an organ bubble.
Right. The quick and dirty dark side of shit.
Become an organ donor. The fucking rumor that they're not going to try as hard to save your life if you're on the table.
That's not true.
The doctors don't know if you're.
They don't know.
I have never heard that. That's gross. No, that's not.
They have no idea.
Oh, I've heard that from a bunch of people. Like, well, no, if I get in an accident and then they know,
then they won't save me because someone needs a kidney. No, that's not how it fucking works.
Yeah, it's
like, they don't even know you have a DNR, people. You just get plopped at a hospital and someone tries to
and they try to save your life.
Not die.
You're a stranger. They try to save your life. That's literally the whole
Hippocratic oath.
It's
as deep as the conspiracy runs, people. So there are many who support legalizing monetized organ trade, which would also incorporate oversight and regulation to ensure the safety and proper payment to consenting donors, providing aftercare, etc. So one such advocate told the Associated Press regarding this case that, quote, there are no victims here. The donors are happy. The recipients are happy, end quote. I was like, okay, girl.
Okay.
But regardless of where you stand on this issue, the law is the law, and Levi Rosenbaum became the first person to be convicted by the feds for organ trafficking in the United States. He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison, which not much.
No.
And 2.5 years.
Worth it. How much
Didn't
money
kill
did he
anybody.
make?
You could regenerate your liver in that time.
I don't know an exact amount that he made, but he had to forfeit $450,000 in property because, again, he could only be brought up on charges for 3 traceable, trackable kidney brokerages transactions. There were so many more that had been going on for years that never came to light. That the feds couldn't pin on him because he did his fucking job right. So he made a lot of fucking money, and he had to forfeit $450,000 in property. He did end up selling his $2 million home in Brooklyn, but not because he was forced to by the feds. It was like after they got out of jail. I think he and his wife probably didn't want to live there anymore because he kind of became a little bit famous in the neighborhood, I would imagine.
A little bad juju in that house.
Yep. And though he does have dual citizenship with Israel, he was not deported, quote, because federal immigration officials found that his crime was not one of moral turpitude that would have subjected him to being kicked out of the United States, end quote.
Can't you get deported if, like, you're caught doing sex work?
Yep.
I think
Jesus
so.
Christ.
Because it's a crime of moral turpitude.
And sex work is just the devil's work.
Oh my God.
So while he pleaded guilty to 3 counts in this trafficking case, authorities said he brokered many more kidney transplants and made millions from the deals. I mean, you can't have a $2 million, like, brownstone in Brooklyn without having a lot of money. His lawyer stated that, quote, if he was drugging the people or knocking them out to get their kidneys, that would have been a deportable offense.
Right.
But that was not the case. Both participants were willing. He also made a great point in his closing argument saying that, quote, one could contend that letting somebody die because they couldn't get a kidney through, like, legal means is also immoral.
Yeah, but the counterpoint to that is that these people could have donated their kidneys
Yep.
at any point, not for profit,
Correct.
and whatever. He could donate his own goddamn kidney.
He absolutely could.
True.
I mean,
Very true.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I have respect for Levi Rosenbaum.
It's not a bad
man.
business model.
No, I'm like, I want a piece of this pie, sir, and I want you to be my mentor, and I'm ready.
I think when I was younger,
you wanted to go into the organ trade?
I kind of saw the merits of like legalizing it and formalizing it and whatever. And like, if some people need the money, like they need the money. But now that I'm a little bit older, I've had some health issues. I kind of realize like, you don't know what you might need a backup kidney.
Well, and also like, do I think that monetization and commodification of our bodies should be something that we have autonomy over? Yes. Like, sex work is real work. But I'm also, as I get older, and this always reminds me of that meme that's like, you just wait, when you're in your 40s, you'll have the same you'll lean conservative. And I'm like, no, the older I get, the more I'm like, burn everything down. I'm an anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
But as like my mind is opened more to capitalism, that's my big fear of creating a legalized monetization of, say, organ donation, because I just think even with the positive sides of getting some sort of aftercare regulation, like oversight, that would be great. But it just creates a legalized economy in another area that is so gray and could still, look, fucking the Chinese government is exploiting people just because it's sanctioned by their government or has quote unquote government oversight does not make it safe and equitable and like good for the general population. No. And I certainly don't trust the American government to put together legislation and protocols to like monetize that trade and make it work.
A lot of people are desperately poor because they have fucking medical debt.
Yeah, exactly. The medical system here is already monetized and commodified, and it's fucking killing people.
I think any industry where there's like a moral gray area, like sex work, like drugs, organ stuff, whatever. Even like we were talking about the intactivism of like being cremated or whatever after death, like. Anything that seems personal to any given person is going to be really tumultuous in terms of legislating it. And there's going to be issues down the road. There's going to be a whole lot of obstacles.
Oh, yeah.
Even diving in, putting your toes in that pond.
And
your piggies.
Like
piggy dipping.
Your piggy dipping.
Piggy dipping in the piggy pond.
At the piggy pond. That little toes in there.
And even if you do legalize fill in the blank, like we have with some organ donation, some sex work, some drug use, some of it is legal. There's always going to exist on whatever that spectrum is, wherever you put that line, even if it's quite far, there's still going to be people who exploit it and do it in a shady way and make it illegal.
Absolutely. Yep. So, yeah, I told you I found it fascinating. I thought it was really interesting, and I had so many feelings while I was writing this. So I'm glad I got to get them all out today.
I wish I had a $2 million home in Brooklyn, let me tell you.
Fucking me too.
Well, seems like you have a exact list of how to get that brownstone.
Yep. Nailed it.
We all know my proclivity for science, so I don't think that I would be the best.
No, but you're a good businesswoman.
You're good at organization, spreadsheets, things like that. You can make sure that everybody has their proper forged documents signed.
The broker.
Attention to detail. I could.
Yes.
You could totally do this.
All right, I'm quitting the podcast, guys.
Cool, bye.
All right, we'll never see you again. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, thank you.
I want a fee for opening your eyes to this.
Opening your corneas.
opening your cornea.
We love you all. We'll talk to you next week.
Maybe.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers!